Hey guys, my name's Victor, and I am working to create a pretty well solo one man software company. And I thought that I would sort of document how it's going, and hopefully, I can help some other people out that are aspiring to do the same thing. I've been in software for probably 25 years, ever since I was a teenager. Started out on web TV, if anybody remembers web TV. I got one, and then I noticed that in a few emails, some of the text was bold or maybe a different color. And I started out on a mission to figure out how to do that, which ended up being HTML, of course, and I just loved it ever since. And recently, with the advent of AI agents and vibe coding and Claude Code and all that, I've taken an interest in that and found it to be quite good. It's even helped me improve my own skills as a regular programmer, or traditional programmer, I guess maybe we call it now. Anyway, so I thought I would document what we're doing here. I'm making a few apps. I've got more apps in the pipeline that we haven't started yet, and I just wanted to show you what we're doing, how it's working, sort of document the whole process. And maybe I can help somebody out in their own mission to do this. Let me switch over here and show you some of our apps that we have currently off the ground now. Probably our most popular right now as far as revenue is Measure Pro. It's got over 50 downloads. We're only on the Android store here. And this is pretty well for professionals in an outdoor space. Okay, so we're thinking landscape architects, landscapers, maybe fence builders, marine construction. Interestingly enough, I've got a guy that's using it right now. He sells robotic lawnmowers, and he can measure the space that the customer wants to cut and then use that to spec out the correct size lawnmower. So I would imagine there's more use cases than even that, but that's the ones that I know are being used right now. I'll show you a few screenshots. It's pretty simple, really, but it's elegant in how it's done. There's lots of apps on the Play Store that I found that do this, but they all stink. I mean, they all just have huge limitations. Some of them I couldn't even figure out. It didn't seem to work well on my phone. And so I'm, creating this that works beautifully well. Has all the features that people are asking for, and even so in this episode, we're going to start creating the new feature, which is basically where you can email an invoice directly to a client with your logo already attached. So you see you pretty well drop pins. That's going to give you the area. It's also going to give you linear links if you want to do that for maybe fence construction or whatever. Here is an example of the marine construction guy. I'm not sure what he was doing, but he was using it. Another guy, I think, trying to spec out the cost for cutting that much grass, which 28 acres. That's a big field right there. It looks like wherever that is. But anyway, I've got a lot more in the pipeline with this app. It's the oldest app that we've got so far, maybe a month or two. I forget exactly when we released it. It's got a few subscribers. We're going to start pushing that as far as the marketing. We'll kind of go through what my plan is for that. And I'll walk you through what we do. Our next app is we call it the Vaults. So it's going to be eventually a large ecosystem, but we're starting off with Cigar Vault. So this is a virtual humidor / cigar journaling app. So me and some buddies, we love cigars. We tried several of the apps that are on the Play Store or on the web, and they all stink. And pretty well the biggest problem that we found is you have to enter a lot of the cigar data yourself, the ring gauge, length, all of that. And each time you want to journal, and that takes a huge amount of time. You might not even know it. You might have to go look it up in some cases. And so it just wasn't user friendly. We didn't like it, and so we ended up not using them. And so we said, why don't we create our own? And so that's pretty well what we've done here. And so the beauty here is that it's all database driven. Now, we're not finished, and the database is a huge project, so bear with us on this if you want to use this app. You see that we're missing images and some other things, but we're working on it hot and heavy every day, literally. So hopefully it's just going to get better and better. But we have a huge cigar database, like I said, growing all of the time. So all of the cigars data is going to be in there. So like if we go to my father, Then we have an overall breakdown of the rating currently on the site, the strength, the wrapper. We have a little description. We can scroll down to see vitola size. We have popular pairings, which apparently somebody likes their My Father's cigar with a frosty root beer, which sounds interesting. So the ratings are per vitola, and they all accumulate for the cigar as a whole. You can see that it's currently in two people's humidors on the site. So if we go to humidor view, you can view everything you have either in list or in sort of like a panel view. It's broken down by different humidors. So like here we have an infused humidor. There's all the infused stuff. We have a separate main humidor. We have ordered by shelf. So if you want to know, hey, what's on shelf 3, you can click there. Boom, here you go. You click smoke to journal it. It decrements one out of there. You can journal it. Now the journaling process is very simple. Takes literally 10 seconds. If you want to go deeper, then you certainly can. One of the best features people like is the pick for me. So you can do a quick pick or guided. So if I just use a quick pick, it's going to pick one sort of random, but it's going to look at what your previous journal entries are. So whatever time of day, whatever time of year, and then it's going to try to get pretty close to something similar. Like here it is, Olivia V. Melania. Anyway, the community is probably the best part. So you can pretty well post what you've been doing, or you can get awards and badges and things like that. So you sort of work your way up as far as a tier level. And all this is going to be tied into Liquor Vault, which is literally just started, like literally probably a couple days ago. So you can see we're lacking a lot in this database. But again, very similar, same stuff, pairings. You have your bar instead of a humidor. You can sort of put in here what you've got on hand and where it's at. So the future, you're going to be able to hit cocktails. It's going to tell you what all you can make with what you have on hand. And of course, a full community suite as well. And the cool thing about these is if you pair a cigar with a spirit, that each site operates very interconnectedly. So in the future, we're going to be able to see the pair ratings, and I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff I think can come of that. Long term, we're planning on wine vault, beer vault. Everything's tied in into a tight ecosystem. So that's what we have up and running right now. What we're going to do today is we're going to work on coding for Map Measure Pro. So I'm going to kind of show you where we're at right now and what the next steps are. So let's just go ahead and take a look here at Claude Code. Okay, now it has been a little bit since I was working on this today, so I'm not very sure where we left off. So one thing that I love to do is if I take a break for a couple of hours and I come back and I'm not sure where we're at, I just pretty well ask it something like either what's left or what were we doing, what were we working on, something to that effect, and it's going to pull it right up. You can see that we've got pretty well everything done on our checklist. We're going to launch to a map screen. We've loosened up the paywall. One thing that we noticed through Google Play Analytics is that lots of people were downloading it, but only a couple were actually signing up. And so we had it quite strict with the paywall to where you could only perform one measurement and then it would paywall you essentially. And so we thought that might be a hair strict. So we're loosening it up to allow 5 different measurements, and then it's going to give the paywall up. Thinking that might allow somebody to use it for a couple more projects, kind of get familiar with it, start to enjoy it, and then we're going to ask them to pay for it because we are trying to make money with it, but we're also using data with the maps and all that. Okay, so if we look here, everything's still open to actually ship this to users. Nothing is released yet. Okay, so we got to do a version bump. That's nothing. Update the data safety form. Blah, 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 blah. So basically, it looks like we're pretty well finished. I'll have it, let's say, I'll just show you kind of what we were adding. Now, one thing that I do want to work on probably next is making the app look a little bit more professional. I don't mind the way it looks now. There's not a lot of UI interface anyway. You're primarily looking at the map, but I do think it could kind of be branded a little bit better, tightened up in various spots. Okay, the conversion fixes the paywall and the gating. We went from 1 to 5 of the where you can measure up to 5 times. Exports. So the export service, we're now allowing them to export what they have measured in either KML, GeoJSON, or CSV. Stage 2, which is the branded PDF, because that to me is where it's going to really shine, where you can have a professional with their logo. Uh, Quickly just draw out and then put their logo on top and then email that. Yes, stage 2 is done. Now, I kind of like to have a little oversight because sometimes the AI is a little wonky. I'm using Opus 4.8 right here. I realize I could be using Fable, and I will switch to Fable when we get into some complicated things here. Um, so I'm asking, how does the user upload their logo? Because sometimes we get it all the way to an APK on the phone and testing it, and it's like some ridiculous way that it wants you to upload it. So sometimes I just sort of ask to head off those goofy things at the pass. User taps projects, the icon settings, that all sounds good. Scrolls to report branding, add logo. Okay, so all that to me sounds great. All right, so when they did not verify Indian, the actual gallery pick on a real device. Don't want to go rabbit hole. The UI renders and the plugin loads fine. Blah, blah, blah. Want me to add a camera option or leave it gallery only? We're going to definitely leave that gallery only because nobody's going to take a picture of their logo. I wouldn't think. You would probably already have it on a Google Drive or a file system somewhere that would be much higher quality than just taking a picture. Okay, we're going to bump to number 7, build the AAB. But instead of build the AAB, I want to build an APK first. So an AAB is what you upload to Google Play. And to me, I only build that whenever I am done with testing and it is ready to roll. So since we've not tested this pretty well at all, it's tested virtually on the emulator. I don't want to go through the trouble of building the AAB. We're going to do an APK that I can sideload onto the phone and test it pretty well in real time. So anyways, it's doing that, and then here we go. So it's currently building the APK in the background, and it'll let us know when it's finished. One thing that I like to keep track of when you're using Claude Code, if you're new to this, is your context window. So your context is the data about your project that the AI agent keeps in active memory. And if that gets to be too large, the AI can't accurately think about all of it at the same time. On paper, it is supposed to. It gives you a 1,000,000 token context window, which is a lot. But I've not seen that that's actually what happens in reality. For me, if I get to 50%, which I can see right down here on the context, which is just bumped up to 30%, if that gets above 50, I notice it starts to be a little bit wonky. It starts to do weird stuff, and then I'm constantly fighting it. So I will keep that under 50%, and I like to keep it as low as possible. Usually whenever I'm working on a single feature, when we close out that feature, even if the context window is 15%, I'm going to clear context just to get back down to 0 if we're done with that feature. Okay, so the APK is ready. So let me show you what I do here to clear the context. I'm going to just give it some script. I'm going to say save what we have been doing so I can clear context. Because when you clear context, it's going to, if you haven't saved that, it's going to forget what we just did. Now, sometimes it saves along the way and it's not quite that bad, but I just have it do that anyway so that there's no issue later. I found that this works best for me. It doesn't take that long for that to do that. And then in just a second, we're going to clear the context. Okay. So you can see here, we have saved everything that we've done and we're ready to clear context. So all I'm going to do is hit a /clear. And then We go back down to 0 context. It doesn't even show up down here. You're ready to roll. Now, when I hit slash, you notice lots of stuff comes up. So that's called a slash command, and there is lots of things that you can do with a slash command. We'll go over them as we go through some of this. I'm not going to sit here and take time to go over every single one because there's quite a lot of them. Okay, now what we need to do is upload the APK to the phone and do some testing, and I will do that and get right back to you. Okay, so I've had a few minutes to test the app on the phone, and everything works really well. There's basically three things that I didn't like. Number one, when you start typing your company name, the keyboard moves over and covers up the text box where you're typing, so you can't see what you're typing, and I hate that. And that might be very minor, but to me, those small details like that make or break a user experience. So I'm going to just go ahead and add that to the list. The second thing that I noticed is even though I added a company logo and a name, if I export the map as an image, that logo and company name isn't on the image. So that's sort of ridiculous in my opinion. It should definitely be on there. The second thing is I tried to generate a PDF and it gave me an error. It could not generate the PDF. So those three things are all that I saw. So I'm going to start pretty well by just telling it that. Now I've got a nice clear context. So we're starting at 0. And I'm going to pretty well just give it everything that we just talked about in plain text. Okay, so here is our prompt. Pretty well exactly what we just talked about. We're going to hit go. I'm going to switch over to plan mode. So I've had to use plan mode way less since we've gotten into the more capable models like Opus 4.7, 4.8. I really have started using it less. Pretty well what happens is if you don't use plan mode, the AI just takes off running and will start coding and changing things based on whatever it is you told it. And in the past, that could go sideways very quickly. And so you would use plan mode so that the AI would generate a plan telling you specifically what it's going to change so that you can edit it or whatever. And then whenever you let it go to make the changes, it would stay within the bounds of that plan. Since these later models, I have used it way less because they're just simply more capable. You can one-shot a lot of things. But every once in a while, especially when I have more than one issue or more than two issues like this, or pretty well if I just feel like it's going to be a little bit more complicated, and I don't want to reiterate 2, 3, 4 times, I'll just start it out on plan mode. Takes a few more minutes to kind of work through any questions and things that it has, but in the long run, you save time because, again, it's going to stay within the bounds of that plan and execute it pretty easily. Okay, so now here we are. It's dug into the code with all three of those issues. 2 of them look like they're going to be pretty easy for it to figure out, but the PDF error, it's going to ask a question on. When does it fail? This determines whether it fixes the logo image, text fonts, or both. It fails even, well, with nothing set. I need to go back and look at that. So I just checked. It's failing every time, whether there's something added or not. So always fails, only with company, only with a logo, fails even with nothing set. Okay. On the exported image, how should the branding appear? Match the PDF layout. I think that's probably best. That way everything is consistent. I like consistency. I like to know what to expect whenever we're doing different things. All right, we're going to let it go and figure that part out. Okay, so here we go. The PDF export fails every time, even when the logo, the root cause on number 3, basically comes down to pagination. Looks like it was trying to put the image outside of the bounds of the PDF. This is the plan. Very rarely do I actually go through and read all of the details of the plan, especially in these later AI models. It just gets it right so often that I have gotten used to not doing that. I do sort of read through the context and maybe the changes that it thinks it's going to make, and that's pretty well it. I haven't had an issue from doing that. So I'm going to hit number 1. Let's go. We're going to bypass all the permissions, and we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, so it's finished. It went through and it says it fixed everything. I had it save an APK and then I sideloaded on the phone there and tested everything, and it all worked great. It gives a professional PDF. I'll put the PDF on the screen here, but it gives a professional looking PDF. We probably could tweak the design a little bit here and there, but I mean, for being able to open the app, zoom in on a customer's house, draw out their yard or even like a flat roof if you're a roofing contractor or whatever, and then in a few seconds spit out back either to the customer themselves or your office or whatever, be able to save an image or a PDF that's logo branded and all. Uh, in my opinion, is amazing. I mean, you can literally in just a few seconds have something to give to your client. And so, anyway, so we're going to call that a day here. I'm going to go ahead and upload that AAB to Google Play. I'll make a video on exactly how to do that next. And our next idea is going to be that we're going to add in a section to where the contractor can put in their pricing for stuff. So let's just say you're going to do sod, and you know that the sod is whatever it is, $4 a square foot or whatever. I don't know. Then you can have that in there, and that would also be on the PDF that you generate. So you can sort of, in a matter of even at the office, you could zoom in over the client's house, and then in a few seconds, email them a preliminary estimate of what the job is going to likely cost. That way, it might save you a trip from ever going out to the client's house if it's outside of their budget or whatever. And of course, you could always fine tune it when you get there later. But in my opinion, an amazing app, huge use case, super easy. If you have any ideas or comments, or if you might be interested in using this app and want a specific feature or a thing changed, let me know and I'll be absolutely happy to do that for you. Outside of that, we'll see you later. Thanks.